JD, if you're listening, the storyteller hasn't stayed. Our plan was for me to talk to the storyteller a bit today about a play we'd like him to do, or a performance in his guise as the Stand-Up Philosopher. So what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about what I would have said to him, because I'm away for next week, and it's the sort of thing we build up to anyway, and it may go through various versions. So it's a bit strange to use live broadcasting to work out what the play's going to be about, but it's just turned out that way, and we start off with conversations, and it'll become a performance later, maybe in some form or another. Couple of summers ago, we did a day sort of conference at the Bike Shed Theatre bar, or a little bit of it was in the theatre, mostly in the bar. It was part of Dark Times, and what happened was that the Stand-Up Philosopher sort of closed the day in a way that maybe should have opened the day, because he coped with all the sort of critique and academic issues as to whether you should get into management in the first place. Previously at a Management Theory at Work conference in Lancaster, that was the closing event, and it sort of nullified all the opening intentions, I would say, which were about using information technology for learning companies. That's my take on what the opening keynote was about. Anyway, you can find this on YouTube. It's in two parts: Stand Up Philosopher at #mtwr. That's Management Theory at Work in Radio, part 1, and then part 2. And what I think is, if we go back to that, if we do some more about management theory at Work in Radio, we could relate it back to the Lancaster campus by means of a walk just along the central spine, which we can't do till they finish it. It's a building site at the moment, but it will be a very scenic route with a lot of iconic buildings, starting with Infolab 21 at one end, the southern end, where there's a tech vision, let's say, some sort of tech possibility relating to education and drama and lots of other things. And I think what we did on the first Management Theory at Work in Radio event, the one you can find on YouTube, is the sort of discussion you might have at the management school or critical management studies, let's say, something like that. It would relate to. But what I think has changed is that if you get to the central bit, Alexander Square, which is sort of halfway down the spine, up the spine, going north, quite clearly a lot has changed. There's a learning zone. The library has got a lot more spaces for coffee and Wi-Fi, or study and Wi-Fi with a coffee machine in the corner or something like that, which you can see in Exeter campus as well to some extent. And so I think the sort of dramatic tension, the issues are going to come up a little bit beyond that space, heading towards the arts and humanities, social sciences end of the... I mean, the campus isn't exactly this straightforward, but it is a straight route, and I think it's a very good space for linking bits of video and then discussions on specific spots which relate to each other but are following some sort of sequence. And there's also a garden, the Time Making Garden, which was an art project, but the funding ceased, and the garden just continues. And I think that makes it easier to video. I'm gradually moving these things into bits of video rather than just radio or a day conference, because I think all the elements can be fitted together at different speeds, different lengths, and it still makes some kind of sense, or at least as an idea. This is what I was going to try and try out with the Stand-Up Philosopher, as to whether it did make any sense. And I'll discover, I think, in a couple of weeks' time, unless he comments on this when it appears as an MP3 somewhere. The other thing to say is that there is a wood. When you get to the north, next to a new arts building, there is a series of pods. I think the two or three pods, which again are good video sets. So I am interested in real spaces because they do lend themselves to sort of backgrounds. But I'm also interested in just bits of media, sound, MP3 or bits of video on YouTube, and different ways of sequencing them in playlists and so forth. So I might come back to some of this when JD's here. We'll work out how it might relate to Central Exeter as another real space.